Alright, so we blew a spark plug heading in, and so we're going to repair it today. And I thought it was going to be a rather big job because I'd have to take the cylinder head off. But when I went down to the local auto parts store here in Raton, they said, "Oh yeah, that happens on Fords all the time." And so I was talking to them about it, and they said, "Oh yeah, go give them this." And I've never seen this before. And basically all it is it's an insert for a metal sleeve, and the metal sleeve will go in and it will cut into where the aluminum threads have been stripped out, and then there's a spark plug with a long neck, and then this will thread into that, going just below it. And this is what we're going to try to install today and then see how it works. But it's not supposed to put any shavings into the cylinder head, and more importantly, it's going to stop me from having to take the entire engine block head off in order to do this. So for a $60 fix, it's definitely worth it versus the $600 fix, and we should be up and running today. Now this is the spark plug that actually blew out. I kept that as a souvenir. And so this is kind of interesting. I actually think it can work. This is kind of like, this is a really high grade, which for high grade steel, I'm going to say it's got a lot of carbon in it, so that it's actually going to cut through the aluminum. And I think it was meant to be put on first, but this is a very long shaft. In fact, the shaft is almost as long as this ratchet is here. So I don't really have the advantage of being able to fit too much in there. So what I'm going to try to do is I'm going to try to screw the spark plug and the sleeve in at the same time using this. Now it's narrow, so the distance we have between here and here, that's pretty much all I have, because it's just a long narrow bit, and it's kind of in a hard spot. So the one thing I'm going to do, just to kind of like hedge my bets, because we don't want this falling off in there because I won't be able to get it back, is I'm going to take this and I'm going to tape it up. Because if I get it in there and something gets stuck, I can pull, and unfortunately this can disconnect. And then, well, I'm a bit out of luck on that one. Pardon my French. Maybe I'll edit that out. So I'm going to just put this electrical tape around this here, and it's going to stay thin. It can't get too thick, and this is going to kind of stop things from pulling apart on me. And when I did this on the road, it was kind of a one-shot deal. So now that's not going to pull out. This is going to go in here like that. I've got to lower it in, and normally I would use a rubber boot, but I don't really have the length for that. So I'm going to put a little bit more electrical tape on this here, but this is going to be just really light. What this is going to allow me to do is to kind of get it in there, line up my thread, and again, I'm trying to keep that as thin as possible. I don't want any of this material to fall into the cylinder. So it's going to allow me to lower this in, line up the thread and jiggle it where I need to be, and then when it's all said and done, I want this to be able to pull right out. So all it's doing is holding it in long enough for me to find that thread, screw it down, and then pull it out. And yeah, hopefully I'll get a nice angle over the engine block and you'll be able to see how that works. Alright, we're sitting on top of the engine block here, and we're actually just going to look at a cylinder here. So this is actually what we had replaced on the road, and so this kind of held everything in. So this is the one that blew out. This is what causes the spark, gives the spark to the spark plug, and if you can see that, it actually, that's about how far down that actually goes into the engine block. So this is really tight in here. I don't think I'm going to be able to show you too much, but here we got the spark plug opening. And as I said, that's a really tight fit, so you can just barely see all the way down there. And that's where we're going to try to thread that that new sleeve in there. And yeah, hopefully get everything in there and out. It's kind of a one-shot deal, so I'm going to put the camera down for it, and I'll show you what it looks like when it's done. So we've got, this is the ratchet. It's going down with the shaft, and you can see just the top of the blue there. So I'm going to crank this down. I don't have a torque wrench on me, unfortunately, so it's really going to be a sense of feel. You want it to go in until it's tight, but not too tight. And yeah, that's going to be the last of it. I'll put this back on when we fire it up, but I'm just going to focus on this now. I just wanted to show you how deep it absolutely took the entire ratchet in there. So I'm going to crank it, and then I'm going to crank it, and we'll hopefully Yui's going to purr after that. So here we have our old spark plug, and what I realize is the igniter is this slides over the spark plug like this. So I just basically maxed out this black tape. So that is the depth of the actual spark plug and how far it sits, about 4 inches into the cylinder block itself. Or actually, I believe it's the engine head at that point. So this will slide down that, and it actually encompasses and slides over the spark plug in order to get some spark. Now, the problem with the new spark plug is the new spark plug is about 3/4 of an inch longer than that. So in order to get this to sit properly in here, what I have to do is I have to cut this down. So that's not too much of a problem. So this actually comes off. It's a little rubber boot. And so we'll see a spring in there, and that spring's meant to make contact with the other thing. And then all I'm going to do is I'm going to mark off where I need to cut this, and we figured it out that it was 3/4 of an inch. So we're going to mark 3/4 of an inch here. I'm going to go just a bit under because we do have some compression that we can do. And then this is just a very simple rigid tool, and this is just going to give me a clean cut here. So then I'm going to cut that, and now this is going to be my new spark plug. So it's going to sit 3/4 higher where the new spark plug plus the boot that we just inserted is going to go. The spring is going to sit a little bit bigger, and I'm pretty sure I might just be able to compress. We'll do a really quick test right here and make sure that that is going to be accurate. So that goes in there, and the boot slides all the way down. I can feel the spring really not wanting to go much farther than that. Nope, and it's spitting it out. So there's some tension there. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to just dial back the spring a little bit and get this all to fit nice. So I've taken the spring and I have clipped it, and I've made a rather clean cut. I'm not going to have this great little wrap that they have it in the beginning, and that's really there to kind of really make sure that that contact is made between the spring and the spark plug. But when it compresses as it does, I think I'm going to be okay. And so we're just going to put this back together. Try seating the spark plug in there. It seats all the way in. It's not really pushing it out, and this is really what we're going to use to go. So we cut that 3/4 of an inch off to accommodate the new sleeve, and that sleeve is in there. I couldn't really take too great of photos over there just because of the tightness, but we're going to put this back in and fire it up. Here we are back into the cramp quarters. So we got that in there, and it actually slid in and fit in just as it was supposed to, and that's really, good measurements as best we can. So we got two things going on. We've got that little yellow cap there, and that is the fuel injector. And so we had disconnected that. At the same time, we disconnected the spark here, so that was just pushing what amounts to a dead cylinder. But everything's all plugged back up and in place. So I'm going to plug these two back in and then fire it up, and then fingers crossed. This is it's not an ideal fix for UE, but this is a pretty good fix, and yeah, well, we're gonna just see how it goes from here. Well, that is the smoothest it sounded in a long time. Alright, I think it's gonna work for a little bit, maybe for a lot of it, and that's what we're hoping. Well, that worked well, so I'm going to clean up now. I did have to get some specialty bits, and since we don't know what's going to happen, we're going to kind of keep them just all together. This was an old Dremel bit thing that I keep around just because I like it. This was a spark plug that replaced the one that blew out because there was just no way to tell, but for all intents and purposes, a good spark plug. So we're just going to keep this kit together. We've got the socket for this style spark plug, which I still have 9 others, and then we got this socket here, which is for the new style spark plug. So at $60 a pop, if I had to change the remaining cylinders, it would be what, $540. So that's not bad. So if it works well, there's a great solution for replacing all the cylinder heads. But that's only if they got torqued out too high over the years. So that's it. UE's back up on 10 cylinders. So yeah, just wanted to show everybody the completion of that. And when the other things come up, I'll tune you in.